Please start. Okay, so today's topic is weights in selenium. So we have different kinds of weights in selenium. So why we use actually weights and weights are why important? Let us discuss. So for example, when you're automating a web application, obviously web application means definitely it needs a internet. So whenever we are trying to do a automation and that too number of test cases to be executed, what happens? It doesn't, you cannot really predict how much time sometimes it takes the page load, right? So it takes sometimes few seconds, sometimes even minutes also it will take. So if this is the case, generally our code will not stop that much time. It will be very, very faster. That's the reason till now we were using a thread.sleep to hold our execution before a step is failing. For example, a step is failing because of the wait means the page is not loaded, but our driver is coming and checking for the web element. So obviously it is throwing a exception, some exceptions it is throwing. So not to happen, not to so obviously end of the day what happens, our execution is going to be stopped. Just a second. So not to happen such situations, we have a concept called weights, and that too in weights we have implicit and explicit weight. So if we can able to manage by using these weights, we can able to peacefully do the execution. And indirect, in-depth way, how can we actually do this? Let's see. As I said, we have two different kinds of weights. One is an implicit weight, and another one is an explicit weight. And we do have a fluent weight also. But these two are the important weights we must learn. In this class, we are going to understand about implicit and explicit weight. So implicit weight is a weight we will be declaring in the method level. Whenever we create a class and create a method, in the method level, we will be defining the implicit weight. And this implicit weight is going to be applicable for throughout the execution of the elements which we have, which is available in the class. It means that if once we are giving the implicit weight, so once we are giving the implicit weight, this implicit weight will be applicable for whatever the web elements we are presenting in that particular class. That is what I'm trying to say. Right? So the implicit weight, how we will be declaring like driver dot manage timeouts dot implicitly weight. We can provide the time and time unit. We have a different kinds of time units like a seconds, minutes, hours, days, and all. So mostly we use a seconds only because it's there is no meaning to wait for 30 seconds, 30 minutes into it means like half an hour to wait for a low payload. So page to be loaded. So it is unnecessary. Rather than we can just stop the execution, we can rerun it from the starting because web page will be like up to few seconds we can wait, because if it is still not happening, maybe there will be a issue behind it. So if, for example, now the issue is coming, obviously it will be persisting in the during execution. So not to continue with the execution, we will stop it and we will be starting from the execution of the code again. So implicitly wait is a wait which will be available, which will be applicable for the elements which are present in that particular class, and it will be only defined once. Again, I'm saying this can be applicable for all the web elements present in the class. So let us see how we are going to implement the implicitly wait. For example, when I'm executing this code, if I'm not giving a thread dot sleep, let me change this 1 second. So generally, if I'm not providing the wait here, this is not going to work for me. So it is not working because after clicking on the register, it is taking a little while to load the page. But our driver is going and checking for the username, ID username, but by then the page is not loaded. Obviously, the DOM is also will not be loaded. It is throwing an exception. And the exception is no such element exception. So it is saying with this ID, there is no element present in the page at the time of driver searching for it. It's not because the DOM does not contain the ID's username, but when our driver is going and fetching the information of an ID of username, by then the page is not loaded. Maybe it is unseemly happening in the behind because you cannot visibly see it is taking a time to load the page after clicking on register. But our code is more faster than that. So that is the reason it is unable to find the ID as username. Now I did not give thread.sleep because as I said, going forward, we are not going to use any kind of a thread.sleep options. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to define implicitly by driver dot manage we are managing the timeouts dot implicitly wait. Here we can give long time. So time unit. So you can give the time as whatever we want. Maximum time we can give. Then time unit dot. See, whenever I have given dot, you get number of options like days, hours, microseconds, milliseconds, minutes, and seconds, nanoseconds and all, but mostly we use seconds. That is really understandable also. So that's the reason. And most probably whenever any web application is having a time issues like payload issues, it will not be more than of the seconds. Obviously, it will not take more minutes or anything. It will be only in seconds. So that is the reason I prefer to give the time unit as seconds. And one more important point I want to discuss here, why implicit and explicit weights are very famous and very much effective, because generally in thread.sleep, whatever time we are mentioning, that entire time is going to be utilized. Even when you are, even though the web element is present or not, it is loaded or not, it will be not bothered about it. Rather, whatever the time we are giving inside the thread.sleep, it will be completely utilized or consumed, then only it will go to the next step. What happens if this is the situation? Just a second. Sorry, guys. So, as I was talking about, the time which we are providing in the thread dot sleep will be completely consumed. Even the web element is present. For example, we are giving 10 seconds. So, but in the implicit wait, it will not be utilized the entire time because we have given here 30 seconds. But the same 30 seconds, if you give it in thread or sleep, even if even the web element is present within a second or within a 2 seconds, but still the complete amount of time will not be utilized. The like in the thread dot sleep, it's something like, the complete time will be utilized. Like for 20 seconds or 30 seconds will be completely utilized. But when it comes to implicitly wait, for example, our element is present in 5 seconds and remaining 25 seconds will not be consumed. So that the performance of our automation script is also very good. Like, we are not wasting, we are not unnecessarily holding our execution just because we have given the time. So implicitly wait, even the explicit wait it is of the same feature. Even the explicit wait also will work in the same way, but the concept is different. But both will be having a one common feature, which is like it will utilize only the time which is required. When the web element is present, from the 1 minute to 1 seconds to 30 seconds. 1 second. Sorry, guys. So let me run right now and see. Previously, the execution was not successful because of the wait issue. My step did not get passed. Now it is entered the value in the username and my test case is also passed. So now the wait is applied. Let us see how the explicit wait will work. So as I said, both implicit and explicit wait will be having a same feature, one feature, which is like it will only utilize the time which is required. Unnecessary, it will not take even a second. If the web element is present, whatever the time it is present, only that much of time it will be utilized. Comes to explicit wait, which is also, we call it as a conditional wait. Why it is a conditional wait? As implicit wait is kind of a global wait, which is like method level we are declaring and all the web elements are utilizing that wait. But explicit wait will be individually we should apply for the web elements, or we can declare it in a common method and we can call it also. But usually this is like subject to each web element, because we will be providing certain precise conditions. So we will tell our driver to wait until the condition is satisfied. And when we use this kind of waits in the sense, like usually, just a second. So usually when we have something, as I said, some conditions like element to be present, element to be visible, invisibility of element with the text, presence of all elements located by, presence of element located. So mostly we use visibility of all elements and the visibility of element located, like that. It means that it will check that condition. For example, if we are trying to interact with one web element and we are providing the wait to wait until the visibility of the element located. So whatever the element we are presenting, driver must wait. That particular element should be visible in the web application. So likewise, we can provide certain conditions in this explicit wait. So how it happens? So we have to create an object for WebDriver wait, and then by using until is a method, expected conditions, visibility of the element located by. So by dot xpath, you can by dot xpath or an ID or whatever the locator you will be providing. So let us implement this for this web element. I'm just commenting the implicit wait, because if you are using a implicit wait and you are also trying for explicit wait, you don't know what wait is applied. And obviously implicit wait will be taking first. So you don't know whether the explicit wait will work or not. And now I removed that. I'm trying to execute. And again, now it fails because there is no time we have applied here. Even the thread dot sleep are not even implicit wait. So this is little faster, so that's the reason it is executing. Let me run it again. See, now it is not entered, because obviously it takes, before it was very fast, that's why it was entering. Now I'm implementing WebDriver wait, which is also called as implicit wait. WebDriver wait. Wait is the object name. New WebDriver wait, driver instance, and what is the time we were going to give? Maximum time we can give, because it will only consume which is required for that particular web element to be available. Anyway, we are going to provide the conditions also. So the conditions will be checked during the execution. So it is done. creation. Then by using this instance of the WebDriver wait until is the method we are going to use. Expected conditions. What are the expected conditions I'm trying to give here? Visibility of the element located by. Visibility of the element located by dot ID. So because we are waiting for username, right? So that's the reason I have given this inside. I am presenting this. Okay. So this particular line will wait until this element is visible in the web application. Then only it will go to the next step. And this visibility of element located by will be checked until this 30 seconds. That can be a 1 second or a 20 seconds or 25 seconds or a 15 seconds. We don't know, because as I said, it is all depends on our speed of the application. Sometimes it will be slow, sometimes it will be fast, but maximum time if you give, anyway it will utilize the required time. So that's the reason I have given 30 seconds. And this visibility of the element located by will be wait until this 30 seconds. If even that after that it is not happened, then timeout exception will be thrown. So now there is no thread dot sleep, there is no implicit wait. With the explicit wait, I am going to execute the code. So now it must enter the username text box with the given text. Yes, it is entered and closed. My test case is passed. So this is how we use implicit and explicit wait. And as I said, we do have another wait, which is a fluent wait. So what is the meaning of fluent wait and how we will be utilizing this fluent wait is nothing but, so we will be initializing the fluent wait object here, like how we did it for a WebDriver wait. In the fluent wait, we will define it for the fluent wait. And then here the main advantage is you can ignore certain exceptions and you can wait for certain conditions. So two things can be done. That's why this wait is also called as a conditional wait, because we can provide certain conditions and we can ignore certain exceptions. So next class we can see exception handling. So that time we will know what are the different exceptions we have, and no such element exception is an exception very frequently we see during our execution. So it means that we can ignore certain exception. That is also in a pooling basis. For example, you have given 5 seconds and you are telling your fluent wait that every 1 second you go ignore some exception and go check for some condition. Two things is parallelly happening here. 5 seconds we are giving in the total time, or 30 seconds we are giving in the total time, and we are saying every 5 seconds you go and ignore no such element exception and check for the condition. So this happens in this 30 whole seconds. It will happen for 6 times. It will happen for 6 times. So there is one more feature is added in the fluent wait, which is something we can ignore, some exception, especially the exception we can ignore. And also likewise, we will be how we are doing in the explicit wait, how we are waiting, expected conditions also we can able to apply. So this is what the 3 different waits we have: implicit, explicit, and fluent. So it is not preferable to use thread dot sleep. It's not preferable to use thread dot sleep because it will be consuming the complete time which we are given, which we are presenting inside the thread dot sleep. And moreover, it is a static wait. We cannot change that once we have given. So that's the reason. That's all for the day class.